Wrestling fans, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble!
And now, please welcome at this time your hosts, Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau. You're listening to the next era of wrestling radio. This is WrestleRant Radio.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WrestleRant Radio, here today for Thursday, November 21st, 2024. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great week so far. Today feels like it should be Thanksgiving. It probably usually is by the third, fourth Thursday in the month, but because of the calendar falling the way that it does this year, Thanksgiving's next week. And we will have a show per usual on Thanksgiving. We'll just record it ahead of time. We're not fucking talking on Thanksgiving, Mr. Marceau and myself. But we will talk next week before the holiday, have a drop on the Thanksgiving holiday itself, but that's next week. Today we're talking the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight from last week on Netflix. A lot of thoughts on that. Raw running on Netflix, if they're going to run into any issues come January. A lot of notable names scheduled for that first show on the streaming service. Some thoughts on Raw from Monday, WarGames updates, and a whole lot more. That's coming up momentarily here on the show. That's going to be after I give my full predictions for this weekend's Full Gear pay-per-view from AEW, and a few other news and notes from AEW as well. New episodes of WrestleRant Radio are available every single week on WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com, all the usual podcast platforms. Rate the show, review the show, subscribe to the show. Never miss a new episode every single Thursday. You can also support the show and the WrestleRant brand in general, which celebrates 14 years as a website this month. It was 14 years ago this November, this very month, that they started the Next Era Wrestling WrestleRant brand. It became WrestleRant a couple of years later, but the website itself, WrestleRant.com, started 14 years ago this month. So support the brand by buying a t-shirt today over at ProWrestlingTees.com/WrestleRant. We got 2 designs available, more to come hopefully, so keep an eye out for those as well. But like I said, before we get Mr. Marceau, I want to talk all the things I mentioned earlier. Do want to talk some AEW, as I normally do to start some of these shows. Full Gear predictions coming up momentarily, but a couple things I do want to mention first. It was confirmed the other day, and I mentioned this last week in my kind of lengthy diatribe on Dynamite and how depressing that fucking show was. I think this week's show might have been worse. The crowd last week in Bridgeport, Connecticut, I'm not even biased, saying, oh, it was my home state, it was a better crowd. That crowd is fucking terrible. And the crowd last night, wherever they were for Dynamite, wasn't much better. Part of the reason for that is, and I'm not even completely saying AEW is not to blame here because they are, it's the atmosphere. It's the bigger environments. It's the bigger arenas that they're running that they aren't filling remotely close to what they should be or what they used to a few years back. They're making a mistake by running these bigger venues. I don't even know how they're able to book these venues with the track record that they have and not really filling them up. They're going back to the same places. I'm not really sure how that's happening, but they are. But per their live event schedule that they put out a couple of days ago with the first few months of 2025 booked for Dynamite and Collisions and pay-per-views and whatnot, they will indeed be booking smaller arenas for the coming months. Now, for the pay-per-views, they're still going to be in the Crypto.com arena, I think, for their Revolution pay-per-view. I think that's in Los Angeles again. Last year it was in Texas, or no, last year it was wherever Sting, that was the Sting retirement show, so that was in North Carolina, South Carolina, wherever that was. I think they were in Los Angeles, or wherever they are going to be for Revolution 2025. They were in that same building, they were in California for that show in 2023. So they're returning to their roots for that show next year. That's going to be one of the bigger buildings, and the pay-per-view crowds are usually pretty healthy. They're usually pretty big, not 15,000 people, but depending on the pay-per-view, they could or close to it. It's the weekly Dynamites where they run into an issue. I did see they're going to be running the Hammerstein Ballroom for 3 straight shows, and now this was rumored a couple of weeks ago. It's officially been made official as of this past week. They will be running on December 20th, which is a month from yesterday, on a Friday for a Final Battle pay-per-view from Ring of Honor. Now, Final Battle is not what it used to be. I went to 2 Final Battles in that building in 2017 and 2018 respectively and had a blast. I also went there for a Ring of Honor TV taping in mid-2018. Just a great fucking venue. I went there for 2 TNA shows back in the day as well, 2014 and 2015. I would so go to that if the Ring of Honor product was better. I don't need to go to a Final Battle pay-per-view where Jericho is fucking champion at this current point in time, so no thanks. But they will be running the Hammerstein Ballroom the next day for a Collision Christmas taping, probably live that night. And then a Dynamite Christmas Day taping, not on Christmas Day itself, but to air on Christmas. They're going to put it up on Christmas Day itself, but taping it that Sunday, December 22nd. If I wasn't already traveling a lot that month for other shows, preferably for WWE, just because it's the better product right now, it's the hotter product, I would rather go to Saturday night's main event than SmackDown and the NXT Lowell show, also happening that week. It probably will not be in the cards for me to go to Hammerstein Ballroom that weekend, but I will be back in that building at some point. Whether AEW run it again in the future or NXT runs there at some point in the next year. I'm not going to the fucking GCW show, I can tell you that. But the next time a major company is there, I'm hoping to be there. But anyway, I thought that was cool. That's the right move to make, running smaller buildings. Hopefully it will help improve the atmosphere of these shows. I thought Dynamite on Wednesday sucked. I can't say sucked. I think that's too strong of a word. It was not a strong go-home show. Let's put it that way. It didn't really make me any more excited at all for the Full Gear pay-per-view on Saturday. But thankfully, as I've said last week and in other weeks, the card on paper is strong enough where it should deliver as it usually does. It's just a bummer the hype in the build has overly not been great, and the Dynamites just lack life. They lack energy. They lack excitement. And hopefully getting some notable names more notable names back in the mix will help out AEW. That includes Kenny Omega. He told Fightful last week that he's returning to New Japan instead first for their Wrestle Dynasty show, which will have involvement from AEW, obviously, but it looks all but confirmed that he will be facing Gabe Kidd on that show, and New Japan standout in the last year or so, I believe. I don't really follow New Japan all that much recently, or in the last couple of years, beyond the Wrestle Kingdom stuff, but Gabe Kidd, from what I've seen and heard, he is quite good. Omega will be facing him, very likely, on that Wrestle Dynasty show on January 5th. I thought it was Wrestle Kingdom, but apparently not. It will be Wrestle Dynasty. But he had told Sean Ross Sapp that he feels that he's more needed in New Japan right now, which they could use the star power themselves. But Omega, at the end of the day, is an AEW wrestler. He's been gone with the diverticulitis diagnosis for the last year, and his return was always going to be a big deal, but he's going to have his first match back in New Japan instead. And for him to say that AEW doesn't need me right now is expected. He's not going to sit there and say, oh yeah, the product sucks, unless he's a heel shitting on his own company, like an MJF would say that. Omega's not going to say that. He said, I want to see other people get the spotlight and be used in my absence, and that is true, but the weekly shows are not great. And I'm not even saying Omega being back is going to overly be a massive boost to the show. It will be a boost. But MJF, I would say that he's been back. He really hasn't been. He returned at the Wrestle Dream show, and he hasn't been in person on one of these shows since then. But we've had Adam Cole back, Bobby Lashley debuting. Both of those were great gets. The Cole stuff hasn't really interested me as of late. Bobby Lashley being around has been great. The Hurt Business, the Hurt Syndicate stuff has been very strong. But Omega being back in the mix can hopefully freshen things up again and make things a little bit more interesting. Another name that AEW might be adding to the mix soon, Speedball Mike Bailey. And any viewer of TNA from the last couple of years, and really most wrestling fans, anyone that watches AEW is probably aware of Speedball Mike Bailey. He's been working, I think, GCW shows, a lot of independent events, that Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling show that Scott D'Amore put on a couple of weeks ago. He was on that card, I think facing Takeshita, if I'm not mistaken. They can run that back in AEW, but apparently per PW Insider, his contract with TNA is either up or will be up at the end of the year, and he will not be back. And he is able to talk to other companies, but he very likely is AEW bound. And the leading belief was that he could be announced as part of the Continental Classic kicking off next week. That would be fucking awesome. Then I saw an update from PW Insider, I believe if this is correct, that they actually can't debut him as part of that Continental Classic because he may not be free by then. But either way, he probably will be popping up in AEW very soon. It was either there or NXT. I mean, he's a great talent. He's been in TNA the last couple of years, former multi-time X Division champion, just lost the belt recently to Moose, actually, got betrayed by Trent Seven, his former tag team partner. So it made sense for him to for that to be a swan song from the promotion and to head to a bigger platform. I thought NXT would be the logical spot. I think NXT had interest years ago, and that was when like he was booted from the country, like he was deported or whatever it was, because I think he was banned from a customs issue or whatever that he had, and then he's been able to work in the U.S. for the last couple of years. Came to TNA, has had a really good run there, and again, like I said, former X Division champion and whatnot. And now he's destined for bigger and better things. So I figured that he probably would be WWE bound. Like if I'm to take a guess right now, I would think Josh Alexander when his TNA deal is up, Jordan Grace as well, both of whom are NXT bound. But, you know, I think AEW has more people like Speedball, Mike Bailey already on their roster. So I'm not sure how much of a push on television he's actually going to get. Will he be relegated to Rampage? Like Ricochet already is working Rampage. Ricochet already still feels like a star, and he's been booked well, and he's had a decent run so far. He's already pulling Rampage duty. That's not a great sign. That does more to, you know, devalue people like Ricochet than it does to add to Rampage, which is just a dead fucking show at this point. It's just a dead product. So Speedball Mike Bailey is far from the star that Ricochet is. Could he one day be on that level? I mean, maybe. He's very good. But again, like I said, they already have a lot of people who do what he does, a lot of high flyers already in AEW. So hopefully, I mean, he's making the right choice. I would think in NXT he would get some more shine because their men's division could use a boost right now. But in AEW, I feel like he will be a fine fit. He could really shine if they give him the opportunity to do so. And it's a bummer that if he can't compete in the Continental Classic, he won't be able to do that as part of that tournament because he could have some fucking kick-ass matches with people like Okada and other people that are bound to participate in this tournament starting next week on the Thanksgiving Eve edition of Dynamite in Chicago. So keep an eye out for Speedball. He probably will be headed to AEW on the sooner side, whether it be next week, early December, January. It's more a matter of when than if we see Speedball Mike Bailey in AEW. As far as Full Gear is concerned, AEW's latest pay-per-view coming up on Saturday, November 23rd in Newark, New Jersey. I will not be there, but it should be a pretty good show. Despite the build being weak and the overall television product just being fucking ice cold right now, AEW, as I've said in the past, as they said last week during my Dynamite diatribe as far as how depressing that fucking show was, like I said earlier, their pay-per-views consistently deliver. Some are stronger than others, sure. Like overall, they haven't had a truly bad pay-per-view in a while, and even bad by AEW standards is still better than some of the shit pay-per-views we were getting from WWE like 10, 15 years ago, so can't even necessarily say that. But I do think the show will be good despite the product being what it is right now. On the pre-show, the overly hyped matchup between Big Boom AJ and his son, Big Justice, who's not wrestling, but he is in the corner of AJ, taking on QT Marshall. How anyone can give a fuck, I don't know. Like, I ironically like the Costco verse, the Costco guy verse, whatever the fuck they're calling it. Their Costco audience. It's just the absolute dumbest shit. It is brain rot, but it has gotten me ironically interested in this match. The fact they're even bringing him in. I mean, this guy AJ had said on a podcast, I don't know why he would say this publicly, but he is a wrestler, like not consistently, but like he used to wrestle a while ago. He used to be an indie guy, so he's got the business in his blood. He wanted to do something with WWE. He was hoping that their buzz and their popularity, I don't think he did that Costco shit on TikTok and to kind of take off for the way that it did with the pure intention of landing in WWE. I'm sure he wanted to become famous out of it because it's just some of the dumbest shit. But he ended up getting an AEW contract for one match instead because I guess he's friends with Sonya Deville, Sanjay Dutt, similar names, I suppose. Not Sonya Deville, but rather Sanjay. Hey, listen, maybe Sonya Deville too. I don't know if they're friends. I know she's also from the New Jersey area, and I think they're from the Northeast. But anyway, he has a history with Sanjay Dutt. He put him in contact with Tony Khan or whatever, and they made this match happen. So it's happening on the pre-show. Thank fucking God. They have not announced anything else for the pre-show as of now. I would love for the pre-show to only be 1 or 2 matches, but they have consistently made it in recent months fucking 4 matches. I don't know why. Most of which are completely pointless. This match is pointless. But to AEW's credit, to AJ's credit, he's been mentioning the match in interviews and promoting it on platforms. He mentioned it on fucking Jimmy Kimmel a couple of weeks ago. I don't know how many people are actually going to watch the pay-per-view because he mentioned it on Jimmy Kimmel like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it was, I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the attempt. And they had him on Dynamite last night to talk about in a backstage promo. I think he's going to be on Rampage on Friday. I saw like an in-ring entrance that he had from fan footage on Twitter last night and this morning, so I'm sure that's probably going to air on Friday, I would have to imagine. He might even have a fucking match on Friday. I don't know. All of that to say, I'm spending way more time on this than I should. He is beating QT Marshall, who we have not seen, by the way, in AEW television since he quit or had his contract expire or whatever, and then was kind of crawled back to the company in early 2024. He went to WWE, had a conversation with WWE. WWE did not want QT Marshall, so then he went back to AEW. And he has not been on the show at all, which I'm not complaining about. QT Marshall, splendid guy. I interviewed him a couple of years ago. Nothing wrong with him personally from what I know. But in the ring as a character, I could not give two fucks about QT Marshall. So he's an easy opponent for Big Boom AJ to beat. They said the Rizzler is going to be there. That's the most fascinating part to me. The fucking 7-year-old Hayabusa-looking kid. Whatever. So Big Boom AJ wins. On to the next thing. And by the way, this is only the advertised card as it is right now. I'm recording this on Thursday morning, so if they add any more matches on Rampage or like pre-show matches on social media, they'll announce in the coming days. I don't know what those are, and I probably won't care anyway. MJF taking on Roderick Strong. Now, I mentioned last week how stupid it was that Strong, if he has such an issue with MJF, why would he not have gone after him in like the fucking 8 or 9 months that Adam Cole was gone for? Adam Cole was gone for like a year. Roderick Strong was never injured. And even when Adam Cole got attacked by MJF at Double or Nothing, because MJF was gone for a little while, but he came back at Double or Nothing, Roderick Strong could have easily settled his score with MJF while Adam Cole was gone, but they did not go in that direction because they didn't want to. We all thought they were dropping the feud, dropping the storyline. They did not. They're revisiting it. Not only are they revisiting it, they're doing MJF and Roderick Strong first. Now, they're probably going to do MJF and Adam Cole at World's End, probably have Adam Cole win and hopefully put this thing to an end. They're going to give MJF a win here. He also has not been on the show either. So if you're going to do MJF and Adam Cole, MJF would have to be on the show to cut promos. I know he cut out like a pre-tape promo last night. It's not the same thing. He's not been in person to confront Adam Cole and talk about this match that they would probably have at Full Gear that's now not happening. It's going to be MJF and Roderick Strong. The whole idea of doing a triple threat, they both got 3 wins, was fucking stupid. The whole build has been lazy. Again, easy outcome here. MJF wins, faces Adam Cole at World's End next month on the 1-year anniversary of Adam Cole, kind of revealing himself as the devil and attacking MJF. Now with the roles reversed. Jay White versus Hangman Adam Page, round 2 in AEW. Or I guess it would be round 3. They had a match on Dynamite about a year ago. Jay White won that. The story of the match is Jay White has always had Adam Page's number. He beat him in New Japan, I suppose, Ring of Honor, Dynamite last year, at the Wrestle Dream pay-per-view last month. I think Adam Page gets his win back, and not even gets his win back, but just finally beats Jay White. He was the same guy that beat Swerve in that main event, that unsanctioned steel cage, lights out main event, whatever the fuck it was, at All Out 2 months ago, and he hasn't really won many matches since. So I'm thinking Adam Page finally beats Jay White on this show. 4-way tag team match with the AEW World Tag Team titles. The new champs, Private Party, defending against the Outrunners, Kings of the Black Throne, that being Malachi Black and Brody King of House of Black, and the Acclaimed. The fact the Acclaimed are in here is fucking awful. I'm sorry. They already have 2 other babyface teams in Private Party and the Outrunners. Do we really need the Acclaimed in there? And even House of Black has been babyfaces as of late, seemingly. I mean, maybe not. They're kind of more like tweeners. The Acclaimed shtick is so fucking old and it's just so stagnant. I don't give a fuck. Why are they in this match? They're not winning. If they were to turn heel or something, that would be great. But I don't think we're going in that direction. FTR failed to qualify. I think they might go heel by turning on the Outrunners, who have become more popular than they've been as of late. So I don't think any team wins here aside from Private Party. They walk out still the AEW World Tag Team Champions. They just won the belts. Why would they lose them this quickly? Mercedes Moné defends the AEW TBS Championship against Chris Statlander. Another match where the match itself, a lot like MJF and Strong, should be very good. The build has been way fucking worse than what we've gotten from MJF and Roderick Strong and Adam Cole. This build has been fucking awful. The latest segment on Wednesday's Dynamite was one of the worst yet. Mercedes Moné's acting is just abysmal. The fact that she hasn't gotten more acting roles doesn't really surprise me. I'm still waiting for that big breakout film that people said that she would be in post-WWE. She's been gone from that company, by the way, for 2.5 fucking years. She's done all of one movie, and it sucked. And that's coming from someone whose brother worked on that movie, and even he said it wasn't good. I watched it myself. Her acting ability isn't all that great. I did watch her in The Mandalorian. She was fine on that show, but she wasn't she had a bigger role in the movie, and she didn't do well with it. And maybe she's been cast in other stuff, and she's had to turn it down, or she's still working on those projects, I don't know. But what I do know is that what I saw in that movie sucked. What I've seen from her so far in AEW has sucked. Even some of the matches, like you would think, oh, the promos aren't good, and the character work isn't good, but at least, because she's a heel, she's better as a heel than she is as a babyface. You would think at the very least she's had some great matches. And she has had some good matches, like the matches with Stephanie Vakir and Willow Nightingale were great. The Britt Baker match was very disappointing. And then even the Hikaru Shida match, the second one at All Out, was just not very good. It was pretty bad, actually, surprisingly. It was pretty lame. Hopefully this match is better. I don't think Statlander wins the belt here. I don't think she necessarily should. Turning her back babyface was a mistake. She had momentum as a heel, and then they fucking made her a babyface again. That sucked. Stupid. But anyway, the match should be good. I think Mercedes Moné retains here. Swerve Strickland versus Bobby Lashley. And this will not be Bobby's in-ring debut for AEW. They did that on a whim on Dynamite last night. I don't know why they wouldn't advertise that, but they did it last night. He beat Joe Keys and Ring of Honor legend Cheeseburger in a 2-on-1 handicap match. I think Bobby's got to win here. I know Swerve is coming off losses to Bryan Danielson at WrestleDream at All In. And then Adam Page he lost to as well at All Out. He's had matches on TV, like he beat Leo Rush recently on Dynamite. He beat Shelton Benjamin a couple of weeks ago. Like, he's had matches. But Bobby Lashley, his first big match in the company, he's got to win. Swerve, you could tell a story with. He's got a redemption arc, blah, blah, blah. I think this is a more important match for Bobby Lashley to win, and I think he will. Looking forward to the match, though. AEW TNT title, Jack Perry and Daniel Garcia. Another weird build. The whole kidnapping thing that we've seen on Collision and Dynamite in the last week has been very odd. It's been very strange. I think Jack Perry finally loses the championship here. Daniel Garcia is going to be dead in the water. If he loses here, he's fucking done. He lost to MJF at All Out. That's fine. He lost to Ospreay, failed to win the International Championship. Okay. Lost to Christian when he challenged him for the TNT title earlier this year at Revolution. Okay. All this other sort of stuff. He needs a big win, and it's got to be on this show. Jack Perry hasn't really done a whole lot with that title. It's been a fairly mid-reign. Daniel Garcia needs the belt more than Perry does at this point. Give the belt to Daniel Garcia. If they don't pull the trigger here, they never will. Kyle Fletcher, I would also say, would stand to benefit a lot from winning on this show and beating Will Ospreay. I don't think he does. I think it would be awesome if he did. Will Ospreay loses nothing. I know he lost the International Championship on the previous pay-per-view, but he can lose here and it would be totally fine. It would be a massive win for Kyle Fletcher. I think it's more of a Rollins-Bronson Reed thing, and that was even more ridiculous because Bronson Reed walked into Crown Jewel with the advantage with, Rollins being hurt in storyline, and Bronson Reed really should have won that match, and he did not. I know he beat him on Monday's Raw, but that was fucking dumb that he lost the first match. Anyway, Kyle Fletcher, he's not walking in here with any sort of advantage. He's at a severe disadvantage, actually. Will Ospreay's a much bigger star, a top talent, former world champion, already a champion in AEW. Kyle Fletcher in AEW hasn't won shit, aside from the Ring of Honor tag titles for a brief period last year. But anyway, I think Will Ospreay wins this match. I think the match will be great. It could be a great coming out party for Kyle Fletcher, who's had a lot of, fun matches this year. He needs big wins, though. Winning the Ring of Honor World Television title doesn't really count. But I do think Will Ospreay wins on this show. Main event, Jon Moxley and Orange Cassidy for the AEW World Championship. Another build that's kind of been all over the place. Orange Cassidy is the perfect person in this spot because it was a year ago at Full Gear that he beat Jon Moxley to either retain, I think it was to retain, the AEW International Championship after already beating or losing to Moxley at All Out. So this is the big rubber match. They have a good dynamic. They have great chemistry. The whole Death Rider storyline to me just has not been compelling at all. They've been trying, I guess. It's been a lot of the same stuff week after week. It just doesn't really do much for me personally. I think Moxley, obviously he's winning here. He hasn't even had a single fucking match, I don't think, since he won the belt at All Out 2.5 months ago. He really hasn't done anything with that championship. All right, I'm sorry, he won it at WrestleDream. He attacked Bryan Danielson at All Out 2.5 months ago. He won the belt a month and a half ago at WrestleDream, and I stand by what I said. He has not done anything with that belt since then. So I think he will retain here. He should retain here. If he's going to lose it to anyone, it probably will be Darby. It could even be like a Swerve or someone else. It will not be Orange Cassidy. Jon Moxley will retain here, and the Death Rider storyline will move on without any real progression, and we still won't have any any real reason to care or get invested in this angle. Because so far it's been a lot of the same stuff with no real significant, meaningful development. Unfortunately, I don't think that changes on this show. I don't think Shane McMahon shows up or we get some sort of big reveal that there's a higher power pulling the strings. I think this will just be a match that Moxley wins, probably with interference, and that'll be it. So that's Full Gear on Saturday. Like I said, I'm looking forward to the show. The build has been all over the place, but AEW's pay-per-views are usually pretty good. Even like AEW's television this year is easily the worst that it's ever been, consistently since the product started 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago now. But their pay-per-views have not faltered. Like, Forbidden Door was a great show. All In was awesome. All Out was a great show. Even Wrestle Dream last month was a pretty good show overall. So I think Full Gear will be no exception, but they really got to do more, and I sound like a broken record. They really have to do more to inject actual excitement into the weekly product to make me care about watching Dynamite or make it feel like I'm missing something if I don't tune in live. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, I do not watch Dynamite live, or at least until the next day, which is not good. There was a point previously where I felt like it was destination viewing. You would have to watch it live, otherwise you'd be missing something. The Fright Night Dynamite gave me that vibe a couple of weeks ago, but that was the only show in the last 3 or 4 months that I have felt that way about. Maybe one in the middle of the summer when Mariah May and Bryan Danielson won the Owen Hart Cups. That was a meaningful show. Beyond that, they really haven't had a whole lot of shows like that in the last couple of months. And that's got to improve coming out of this pay-per-view. I know they have the Continental Classic. They're going to be relying a lot on the in-ring stuff, and that's great. But, they got to have actual storylines that people give a shit about, and that's going to be a big, obstacle for them to overcome in the coming weeks and months. So let's throw it to my conversation now with Mr. Marceau, talking all things WWE, Netflix, WarGames, and much more. Mr. Marceau, brother, what's going on? Thanksgiving coming up quick. Are you ready for the holiday?
Doing good, yeah, man. Got another day of work here this week, and then I think I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, and then we'll be off for Turkey Day and Black Friday. So starting to wind down a little bit, starting getting that holiday schedule. You know how it is, especially with how close Thanksgiving and Christmas is this year. It's gonna be a quick turnaround to Christmas time too. So
yeah,
busy couple weeks coming up.
I know we were just discussing Christmas, but you're already ahead of the curve. Though when I asked you last week on your birthday, last Saturday, you were saying that you were getting the Christmas decorations. Hey, better than me. I wait until the day after Thanksgiving every single year. But like you said, it's a little later this year, so it kind of makes sense to do it as early as you guys did.
Yep, trees up, the ornaments on the tree. Got the wreath light thingy on the center console. So our living room's all decored for Christmas here. I'm
actually kind of shocked that you said you watched Zootopia. I'm kind of surprised that you haven't. Maybe you have, but on that specific day, you did not watch a Christmas movie. I'm surprised you didn't pop in Home Alone 1 or 2.
I've seen Home Alone 2 3 times already this year.
I was going to say, you don't even wait until November. You just wait until you start in January. It's a year-long process for you.
It was the first Christmas movie we watched this year, and it was I don't know, 2 weeks ago probably.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
It was on TV the other night, and I just left it on, so great flick. But,
do you like,
yeah. I think it was on again last night when we were just hanging out, and I'm like, this movie's hilarious.
Home Alone 2, hey, listen, it makes absolutely no fucking sense. I will think about that every single time I watch that movie, and I think of you, and I'm thinking the brick scene is just absolutely ridiculous, but it is a great flick, though. Was it you, or was it Molly, or was it no one?
The injuries are obviously...
What'd you say? No, go ahead.
I said the injuries are obviously unrealistic. They would be wheelchair bound half the stuff, but it just, I don't know. I think I've listened to more when he talks with the pigeon lady, and he kind of drags her, and she just accepts it, and it's just funny. She's like, I have no friends. He's like, yeah, well, that's what happened. Maybe she get clothes on pigeon shit on him. I'm like, the kid's lying.
Kid's a fucking
literally
savage.
says that to her, and she's like, yeah.
Yeah. He does the same thing to the old guy in the first movie, too. He does the exact same thing. He's like, well, I can't talk to my son. He said he didn't want to talk to me. He goes, well, bull crap. Go fucking talk to him, you little pussy. Well, he doesn't say that literally, but that's basically what he's implying.
Literally. He's these grown-ass adults are asking this little kid, and he's giving him, his thought, and he just drags them, and it's hilarious.
It is a great flick. Is it you, is it Molly, or is it someone else? Or is it no one that likes Home Alone 3? I thought Molly liked Home Alone 3. That movie's fucking terrible.
Molly likes Home Alone 3. She likes that one. She's like, that was like, I guess I'll give her a little slack because the movie is garbage, but I guess it was like the first Home Alone she like actually saw.
Okay.
So like it's kind of like more nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
But we watch it usually every year. We have to at least do it once. It's like okay, but it's not the same as the original too.
You know what? I will say this though. I haven't seen it in a very long time. It's not a good movie, but it definitely is infinitely better, I'm sure. I've seen the fourth one. I haven't seen the other ones. I think they made a fifth one for TV at some point, which I have never seen. And I think they made one a couple of years ago for Disney Plus, I want to say, that I heard was terrible. So it's probably fucking cinema compared to that shit.
Yeah, I saw the newest one. The newest one was on Disney Plus, and like they have Buzz. Buzz is in it. The kid that plays Buzz in the original.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
It's not good. It's not good.
Yeah, I got to watch it just to watch it, but yeah, I heard it was trash. So might have to put that on my list of Christmas movies to start watching soon. But your birthday last weekend was not the biggest event of the weekend, shockingly. I mean, it is every single year, but this year, it was actually the second biggest event behind the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight, the critically acclaimed boxing fight itself on Netflix. I know we spoke briefly about it at your party last Saturday, but I just wanted to get your quick thoughts on that because I forgot to ask you about it beforehand on the show last week, but we both watched it, the stream cutting in and out. For me, shockingly, at the Wiley Inn on hotel Wi-Fi, I did not have any problems. I don't know why, but a majority of America, the world did. The fight itself wasn't much better, but just want to get your two quick cents on that from last Friday, rather.
Jake Paul might be the smartest man in this world. Guy literally is like P.T. Barnum with this like circus-like promotion, and everyone just buys into it, and the fights every time are garbage. And it happened again. I didn't see a ton of it because mine was buffering. Mm-hmm. I saw Mike Tyson's bare ass like 3 or 4 times. I still don't know what was. His son was interviewing him, showed him, and he just wasn't wearing pants, or like he was wearing a jock strap. I have no idea to this point. It was mind-boggling. But every time I would buffer and get kicked out, I would go back in, and it would be that exact same scene again. I was just buffering, go back to that scene, and then buffer again. But, I mean, from what I saw from the fight, it was garbage. Yeah. But, like I said, Jake Paul's just a great promoter. But I don't know when people are going to finally realize, like, these fights, like, aren't good. Like, if I had been so pissed if I paid, I mean, I wouldn't pay it anyways, but, like, those people that went to Cowboy Stadium paid probably a shit ton of money to go to this, and the fight was terrible. I mean, the co-main was pretty good. The 2 women were good. Yeah. And I even thought the third fight before, I think it was Ramos, and I can't remember the other guy's name. They both are Mexican fighters. I can't think. It was a split draw. The champion retained. I'm trying to think what his name was. Maybe Torres. I don't even know. But that was actually a good fight. So I guess they gave you a little bit, but, like, the main event was garbage.
So I haven't really been following the Jake Paul stuff all that closely. Like, I see certain stuff on Twitter and shit, but, like, beyond that, this was the first fight of his that I've actually seen. Looking at his record, the fact that he's 10-1, 9-1, whatever it is now, I think he's 10-1 now. I mean, he's obviously fighting a lot of non-fighters, either people that are awful, MMA fighters that aren't boxers, or people that are past their prime like Mike Tyson. I mean, like you said, I think it's a P.T. Barnum-esque scheme here where he's doing this on purpose. Have more people not caught on to this, that he's just doing this on purpose? I mean, obviously it was a big, money, a cash grab, and people signed up for Netflix to watch it and to go there, and they made a shit ton of money off of it. You mentioned last Saturday that I think, what did you say? Tyson was, he made $20 million off that fight, and Jake Paul probably made a pretty penny off of it as well. How does he just keep getting away with it? Because people keep lapping it up. I know the Mike Tyson thing was the exception because that was a big deal that he was coming out of retirement for the first time in 20 years. But like the other stuff, that just sounds like there's no real competition there, which is why that wasn't a real fight. It seemed like he could have taken advantage of Tyson at any point, especially down the stretch when Tyson was clearly gassed. But he just kind of danced around it. It's like, that's not entertaining. So I don't know. I was kind of confused as to what was going on there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think after this fight, it'd be very interesting to see what he does next. Like you said, he fought a lot of like older MMA fighters, so not boxers. They're all like old, washed up. He usually has like some kind of like special like rules to his fights, like the rounds are like modified or like the glove size. So it's kind of like I said, it's kind of like he like skews it in his favor. I mean, he's young. I mean, he's in shape. Like, good for him. But I think after this fight, it'd be very interesting to see what happens next. I mean, the only time he fought somewhat a legitimate boxer, his own age, he lost. So, and it's not like Tommy Fury is like world renowned. So I did see a thing that like the current heavyweight champion called him out, and he was like, well, why are you going to call me out? Like, I've only had 10 fights. Like, dude, like, see, like, that's the shit I don't like. Like, he pumps himself up like he's a big boxer. Someone, like, that's actually really good calls him out. He's like, well, I've only been fighting for 10 fights. Like, I just feel like it's like, I'm hoping after this Tyson fight, unless he, like, actually starts fighting legitimate boxers, I hope people just stop giving him the time of day, because these aren't, at least this one, I guess for Netflix, unless you kind of pay for Netflix, it's not like you're shelling out like $70, $80, but still, like, it's getting to the point that these fights aren't worth watching. He's a great promoter, but the fights are not, it's just not good.
No, they're just not. I mean, it just wasn't very good. I haven't seen any of the other ones. I know they showed footage of some of his previous fights before this one during the course of the stream, right before they had the actual fight, but they didn't look overly entertaining. And like you said, the only actual boxer that he faced, that being Tommy Fury, like you said, who isn't even it's not even Tyson Fury, he lost to. So, I don't know. I feel like it's pretty evident at this point, if it wasn't already evident, as to what's going on there. But did you buy into any of the conspiracy theory stuff that people have been spewing since Saturday, which I honestly kind of believe to a certain extent? I mean, there's a lot of tinfoil hat theories going on about a lot of things, obviously, but Tyson, maybe Jake Paul couldn't make contact. I mean, there was like this agreement, like, hey, I don't want to completely embarrass you, but like, let's go out there. We don't really have to do much. So we can just go dance around, throw a couple punches. And, Jake Paul threw far more punches than Tyson did, but he barely touched them. And when he did, it was towards the end. Obviously didn't really make enough contact to knock him out. Do you think there was some sort of working agreement there for them to kind of go out there and put on a show more so than an actual fight?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole, I don't know if you saw that, like, when Tyson slapped him at the press conference, I feel like that was clearly just to generate more promotion for the fight.
Oh, yeah.
It was on ESPN, it was all over Twitter, which, like, I don't think there was, like, actual any animosity. I think it was just, like, they want to, like they said, I feel like that's, like, an agreed-upon thing, like, hey, slap me, and that will get people to go fucking crazy and buy this, like, and come watch this fight, which a ton of people did. But, I memean, it wouldn't surprise me, because from what I saw, like you said, they barely were, like, even, like, fighting. So, I mean, that's it. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it wouldn't completely shock me if that was the case, just because, like you said, that slap at the press conference or the weigh-in the day before was definitely aimed to get people talking about it even more than they already were. It worked to tune into the fight, if they could tune into the fight, and it was kind of underwhelming. But yeah, like we talked about, like the stream was buffering for a lot of people. That was a common criticism throughout the evening. I did see from TMZ, I think the other day, that Netflix is being sued for that shitty quality stream. I don't know how you can sue them for that. I mean, I don't know if that's real or not, but that was the rumor going around, which immediately led to WWE fans thinking, well, this is going to suck for Raw. Raw's going to have this buffering quality, and they're joining Netflix in, a month and a half, and they're going to have the exact same issue. And I'm here to say they probably won't. I don't think 60 million people are going to be tuning into Monday Night Raw on fucking Netflix. Do you share that same mindset that this probably isn't a worry for WWE, and it was more of a case of like too much traffic on the service at once, and that WWE will probably have nothing to worry about? And also, too, there's a football game before then they can also use as a test run on Christmas, right?
Yeah, there's 2 games on Christmas that are on Netflix. I'll just say I'd be more worried about those 2 games having issues than with Raw. I don't think that many people are going to be watching Raw weekly, that it mess up the service. With the football games, I'd be a little bit more worried, just because I don't know if it pulls 60 million, but it should be a lot of people. So, I think if I would be more worried about the NFL and the football games than with Raw. And luckily, they still have over a month before those games, so whatever issues they had, maybe they can tweak it and figure it out. I mean, I don't know exactly how Netflix is running, like they producing everything. I assume with NFL and probably WWE, they'll probably use some of their production too. So there'll be some kind of working relationship with someone that already has. But they already have the capabilities of like broadcast and stuff like that with this Jake Paul thing. Like, I don't know exactly who they were working with. At least with Netflix, you'll know like NFL has their own production. Same with WWE. So I think the collab will probably help maybe fix these issues that they had with this fight.
Yeah, hopefully. I think the internal report was that WWE was obviously concerned, coming out of the fight, and then Netflix kind of assured them, hey, this won't be a problem. Don't worry about it. Probably just saying, listen, you're not going to have fucking 50, 60 million people watching your show, so it probably won't be an issue, like I said. But you did ask, like, where does Jake Paul go from here? What's next for him? We also don't know what's next for Mike Tyson. When he was asked by Ariel Helwani, actually, of all people, who was doing the post-fight interviews, he said that he didn't know what was next for him. And would he fight again? He said, yeah, maybe. Which was obviously translation for, if the money was right, then he would definitely do it again. I think Ariel said, or I don't know if Mike Tyson, I don't know who brought it up, but the idea of him fighting or facing Logan Paul in some capacity was acknowledged. Then Logan Paul said, I'll knock your bitch ass out or I'll beat you or whatever he said. And that got a lot more people talking than anything else during the post-fight interviews, because Jake Paul, meanwhile, was, showing nothing but respect to Mike Tyson. He was, praising America and all this other sort of stuff, the era of truth, all this other, like, garbage, like, who cares? But, like, the Logan Paul thing got a lot of people talking. Now, that led to WrestleVotes the other day reporting that apparently WWE took notice of, obviously, the interest that a lot of people had in the fight and everyone buzzing about Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, which probably won't be the case in even a week from now, but, people are still talking about it a couple days later. And, they were thinking maybe we could do something with the Paul brothers or Tyson or all three at WrestleMania next year, whether it be Logan and Tyson or Tyson and Jake Paul. Obviously not a match, I would think. I mean, Mike Tyson could barely fight at 58 years old. Obviously, WWE would be a fixed situation. It's a worked environment in pro wrestling. I don't think a match is necessary, but I could totally see, honestly, whatever buzz Tyson has left, the people tuned in to see him on Netflix, them building up something or doing some sort of a cameo with him at WrestleMania, especially with it being in Vegas, where he has a lot of history. I don't know if it's something you're especially interested in seeing, but is that something you could see being a possibility for WrestleMania 41, something involving the Paul brothers and Mike Tyson?
Yeah, it's possible. I think, if anything, it'd be something similar to what he did with Shawn and Stone Cold, maybe like a guest referee situation that, he doesn't have to do a ton. Hit the punch at the end, like just kind of like what he did at WrestleMania against Shawn. And, I think that's all he really needs to do. At this point, he's pretty much at the tail end of his popularity. Without this whole Jake Paul thing, I feel like he was kind of irrelevant at this point, besides getting like arrested and doing stupid shit. So, at this point, if you're going to try to capitalize on any buzz that he has left, it makes sense to do it this year. But like I said, I just special guest referee for me.
Yeah, something along those lines I could totally see. Tyson's always been, an attraction in WWE when they first used him 25 years ago. Obviously they brought him back a few different times. AEW even attempted to use him a couple of years back during COVID. Didn't really go anywhere. They were teasing a Jericho-Tyson match that went nowhere, so I'm not even really sure what the point of that was. But yeah, I think using him for WrestleMania in some capacity with the Paul brothers, if Logan Paul already works there on a part-time basis, I don't see anything wrong with that. For as little as people, like the Paul brothers, they obviously garner enough interest for people to, be buzzing about their shit. Now, I don't know what Logan Paul's going to do when he comes back to WWE television. We haven't seen him since SummerSlam when he lost the United States Championship to LA Knight. Maybe a WrestleMania match with John Cena I could see being in the cards. They did say, though, I think Logan Paul did a post-fight podcast with his brother Jake, and I think he asked him if he would be interested in joining him in WWE. Jake went so far as to say, I wouldn't be interested in wrestling per se, but he would be interested in being like Logan Paul's manager or like his Paul Heyman, his business manager, whatever the fuck he said. And it is interesting because Logan Paul's been in WWE now for so long, but we haven't seen Jake Paul a single time. We've seen KSI, we've seen all these other goofs from the Logan Paul universe, but no Jake Paul, which is kind of interesting. So is that something, again, maybe not necessarily that you're interested in seeing, but could you see some sort of role for Jake Paul in WWE coming off of the buzz of this fight, WWE wanting to capitalize on that, and Logan Paul kind of needing something to do for when he comes back in the spring or whenever he comes back soon?
First I gotta defend I Show Speed. You gotta watch your lip. You said Jake Paul goofs. Big fan. I show speed, so watch your mouth on that one. With Jake, I mean, like you said, I think him as a manager, like a mouthpiece, would be better than him wrestling.
So no tag team title run for the Paul brothers, you're saying?
No, thank you.
Speaking of Raw on Netflix, there was a lot of news this past week regarding that first show on January 5th, 6th. I honestly forget the date. Is it the 6th? Okay, January 6th. Yeah. So the first Monday on 2025, they're going to the, how do you pronounce it? The Intuit Dome? It's the new Clipper Stadium or arena. Intuit Dome. Okay, yeah. So it's an all-new arena where the Clippers play. They're going there for the first Raw on Netflix. So enlighten me. I've heard a lot of people talk about, like, you know, they can really utilize the arena and the graphics and stuff like that. Is it similar to the Sphere in Vegas, where like what is it? What's so special about this arena? Do you know?
It's brand new is one. Mm-hmm. I think they have things that are like in the seats that like they have lights that are like connected to the seats. So I don't know if you could like do something with that. Okay. They kind of have like the same kind of Halo scoreboard that they have at SoFi. They have that, but it's inside the arena. Like that, like they have like it looks like a Halo, this Jumbotron. They have the same one at the Intuit Dome. Okay. Yeah, they have like some different quirky new things that like brand new like technology stuff there. Like I said, like they have like, I think there's stuff in the seats that like other interactive stuff that you can do from the seats too. So it has a lot more like modern technology that most stadiums don't have.
Do you think that's going to be a new thing for these arenas going forward if they redo them, or is that just kind of exclusive to certain arenas like that one in the Sphere in Vegas and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this one's just it's a little bit different just because it's like, I mean, the Sphere is like a music hall basically, so that's a little bit different. This one's like a basketball stadium. I think it just depends. Like the owner of the Clippers wanted this to be like more of an interactive experience. Mm-hmm. They have like 2,000 more toilets than any other stadium has like ever had because he's more worried. Like he doesn't think like you should be like in the bath, like you shouldn't be waiting in line to go to the bathroom. Instead, you should be like watching the game. Mm-hmm. They have like this section behind one of the nets. They call it the wall. It's like on an angle, and like the fans stand the entire game and cheer and shit. So it kind of brings like more of like a college atmosphere. And like, cool. So like they have like the interactive stuff in your seats, lights. Yeah, it's like. He made it specifically just to like be like a very interactive experience, and I mean it's spent a shit ton of money. So I think it really just depends on who's spending the money, I guess.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I mean just from the sounds of it, I might have to go to a Clippers game. I got to go to a Bulls game first in Chicago, and I'll be going to a Celtics game soon. But maybe I'll put it on the list of my basketball. Bucket list of arenas to go to. Maybe hey, listen, the next Mania that we go to in Los Angeles, we might have to check out a fucking Clippers game for that alone.
Yeah, I think it's right next to SoFi. It should be in the same area. It's in Inglewood, so I assume it's in the same complex or near it.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, yeah, that definitely makes it more appealing then. They did also announce, among the many names that were advertised for that show, which I'll get to in a moment, they did say that they made the announcement at like a Travis Scott concert the other day. That's kind of how this came about. He's going to be at that first Raw on Netflix, which was the report, I think, from WrestleVotes, actually, about a month or so ago. He not only will indeed be there, I don't know if he's performing live on the show, but he will be the new theme song for Monday Night Raw. And I think they were already using a song by him for Mania. I'm not confident in saying that, but I'm pretty sure it's been in commercials and shit for the Vegas Mania. Give me your 2 cents on that. Are you a Travis Scott fan? Do you follow his music? Are you a fan of I guess anything's better than fucking Def Rebel as the Raw theme song, which I know you don't mind the current theme or the SmackDown theme, whatever it was, I forget. I honestly couldn't tell you what it was if you asked me, but Travis Scott's at least a notable name, if nothing else.
No, I like Travis Scott. I mean, I feel like, I think it's a good get for them. I think his relevance has probably come down a little bit. I mean, he was pretty popular, I'd say probably pre-COVID, but I mean, I still think he's still a bigger act, and I think he's still a big name. So, I mean, I like Travis Scott, so I don't have any issues with him being the new theme for Raw. So I think the one I can think of is like, "We are the greatest of all time." It's like a shitty Def Rebel song for Raw.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they've had those shitty Diff Rebel Raw themes for at least the last 5 years, so, it's nice they'll be going back to an actual artist. It's not really my sort of music. They have Megan Thee Stallion for the SmackDown theme. Again, does nothing for me personally. It's not my type of music, but, what is my type of music might not be for someone else, so I totally get it. But, it's nice that they're branching out and using actual artists again and not just this in-house generic garbage. It gives the show an actual vibe, so that's nice. But among the many notable names that are either expected, flat out announced for that show is Becky Lynch. She was on a talk show the other day. I forgot what the name of it was. I think Vulture, something like that. And they were talking about a variety of topics, but they did ask her what her in-ring future entailed. She's obviously not retired. She's just been off since her contract expired back on June 1st. She lost the Women's World Championship to Liv Morgan at the King and Queen of the Ring show. She lost a rematch inside of a steel cage to Liv on the next night's Raw, or on that Monday's Raw, and that was it. We haven't seen her on WWE television or anywhere since then in the pro wrestling scene. But she is expected back for either that first Raw on Netflix or soon after for WrestleMania season. Thoughts on Big Bex? What was her fucking name? Big Time Bex, rather. Big Time Bex being back in the mix in WWE. And what you could see her doing. Whether it be something with Lyra Valkyria, teaming up with her, feuding with her, or just maybe going back after the Women's World Championship that she was beaten for. She was, I think, the last person to hold that belt, because Liv hasn't lost it since then, actually, so she might be looking for a rematch. Thoughts on Becky Lynch being expected back for Raw in January?
No, I think Raw specifically could probably use her. We've talked about this probably weekly at this point, but they just don't have a ton of over women. Your favorite group, the Pure Fusion Collective, still just chugging along here. I think they need the star power, so bring her back. You have Rhea, Liv, obviously, but besides them three, there really isn't a ton that's over. Like you said, I think working with Lyra or teaming with Lyra, I don't know, somewhere like that gets Lyra more over, I think would be the ideal part. Becky's, she's at the point of her career, like a loss doesn't kill her. If anything, it'd probably make whoever she's working with. So I would do her versus Lyra and put Lyra over. I think they need more stars, and I think beating Becky would be a big deal. So, that's what I would do. I like both women, and I think, like I said, I think Lyra could use a little prop up. Since she's been on the Raw roster, she really hasn't done a ton. Mm-hmm. But her matches with Becky in the NXT were good, and I think, like I said, Lyra getting put over would help her a lot.
I totally agree. Lyra really hasn't done a whole lot since arriving on the main roster. She got that initial push when she first arrived, and then she kind of fizzled out a little bit. They really haven't had a whole lot for her to do beyond the Pure Fusion Collective trash. So maybe when they debut a Women's Intercontinental Championship, because clearly the women of Raw will not be involved in the crowning of the Women's United States Championship. We'll get to that later on. But I guess I am excited to see her back, and that Raw Women's division could use her. Rhea Ripley back in the mix as of Monday night. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. But that's a nice get for Monday Night Raw if she's back by then. But the other rumor that I forgot to bring up to you a week or two ago, Becky Lynch, if she does come back, she would probably be on Raw. SmackDown's got more than enough women. But the rumor was, and also based on advertising, this may not be completely out of the question, Netflix apparently wants Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk all on the same show. Those are the three top baby faces in the entire fucking company, and they want them on Netflix on Raw. I just don't see that happening. I think that's more of a wishful thinking thing than it would be. I feel like that would completely kill SmackDown. Their top two stars and Cody and Roman going to Raw. Yeah, you could put Rollins on SmackDown or whatever. I guess Becky would be then too, because she's married to Rollins, but putting all three on Raw, Punk would just be like a fucking upper mid-carder at that point. He would never really get any shine if the Bloodline stuff played out entirely on Raw and Cody Rhodes was back on Raw as well. At the very least, move Roman to Raw, keep Cody on SmackDown. How would you kind of, split these guys up? Would you put them all on the same show? Where would you like to see them go come the Raw Netflix premiere in January?
I would not put them all on the same show. Roman's not full-time, so it wouldn't really matter. With Cody and Punk, I guess realistically it doesn't really. Punk's part-time, so is Roman, Cody. Like I said, it would kill SmackDown because depending on who you put, you would basically have to put all your other top babyface or guys on SmackDown to kind of counter that. But if Punk and Roman and Cody, all three of them were full-time, I'd be like, there's no chance in hell to do that. It'd be dumb. But with them both, two of them being part-time and Cody, I mean, I don't hate the idea, but like I said, SmackDown would have to be propped up. Especially if they were rumored to go 3 hours. I mean, you'd have to do something from there.
Yeah. No, they would need a boost in star power, especially if the 3-hour thing is legitimate. It would have to be made equal so SmackDown's not getting completely destroyed here and being made to look inferior to the Monday Night Raw roster. I don't think they get all three. I could see Roman going to Raw if they finish up the Bloodline stuff before then. I don't even see that being the case. I think Roman and Solo is probably the end game for Mania, which I don't give a fuck about in the slightest bit. If they can get that over with before then, that would be great. But, the Bloodline stuff is great, but Roman and Solo as a Mania match for me just doesn't work, brother. So hopefully they don't go in that direction. And then Roman can go to Raw, do his own thing. Cody, I would probably keep on SmackDown. Because if you move Cody to Raw, you got to put the World Heavyweight Championship, if Cody's still the WWE Champion by then, you got to put the World Heavyweight Champion on SmackDown. And then you might have to move the women's belts as well. It would just be a whole fucking thing. I wouldn't move Cody. I think that'd be stupid. Roman, I could see. Cody, not so much. But like I did say, Rhea Ripley is back in the mix. We saw her resurface on Raw. Now, the show was taped on Monday. And I know the belief was that it was give the talent the week off for Thanksgiving thing. But you brought up to me last week, which I totally forgot. Clearly, Thanksgiving is not this week. So I'm not sure why they taped for this week's show and not for next week, but whatever. Rhea Ripley did resurface. That was kind of spoiled by the, spoilers that were out there from the show. But they made the Women's WarGames match official, with Rhea Ripley teaming with Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi against Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. That will be the Women's WarGames match this year. So Rhea Ripley is back with a face mask. I'm going to assume that her injury was legit, the broken eye socket or busted eye socket, whatever it was, orbital bone. And they're just allowing her to work through it. It must not be that serious. So that's good news for the Raw Women's division. They still need to build up new stars, obviously. But I'm still not thrilled with this Women's WarGames matchup. I feel like they could be doing, something else that makes a little bit more sense. But want to get your 2 cents on Rhea Ripley's return on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit surprised when I saw her on Raw. I thought, like you said, I guess it could be legitimate with the face shield on, but I mean, it's needed. They need the star power. I don't think they need to do this Women's WarGames, but if they're going to do it, I guess you got to get one of the top women in the match. So I guess getting her back helps solve that issue. But I'm glad she's back, but I just think it's kind of. I just don't think we needed the Women's WarGames, or unfortunately bringing her back is like their justification to doing it. Mm-hmm. I just don't think there needs to be a Women's WarGame match. The story's not there. You're kind of mixing in random groups of people that really haven't been on the same page for what? Because Rhea and Liv don't like each other, so you add all these other people. I don't know. I don't think the story's really there, and it's just like Candice LeRae's on SmackDown team. Putting Io with Bianca, who haven't been on the same page. I don't know, just random.
Do you think this, I think this is an obvious question. I'm not even going to ask you, but I'll just kind of state this. Don't you think that this would be more logical, it would make more sense for this to be a traditional Survivor Series elimination tag team match? Because I know you grew up in the same era as I did, where in the early 2000s with the brand-specific matches, they did one for Raw, they did one for SmackDown, and I'm talking not the brand supremacy bullshit, but they used to intermingle feuds from Raw and SmackDown and even ECW from a time. I'm thinking 06 through maybe 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. They were doing that where they would take random feuds like this and then have them face off in an elimination match. And there were no stakes, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but you would have people that were feuding with each other in a traditional elimination tag team match. We have not gotten one of those in several years on Survivor Series, and if we have, it was brand supremacy. I think this would make sense to do in a traditional elimination tag team match because the Women's WarGames concept itself is completely unnecessary for this. I feel like you could have done men's WarGames this year, and then whatever the match that doesn't make sense to do in WarGames, this year being the women, you do as the traditional elimination Survivor Series tag team match, but I guess they didn't go in that direction, obviously.
No, this match screams like an old school Raw versus SmackDown or a mixed group of people. Maybe one or it was when DX faced. I'm trying to think who they faced. they had like DX faced, it was Edge and Randy Orton. So it was like them. That was like the main feud. But then they had like Punk and the Hardy Boys, and then I can't even remember who was on the Randy Orton team. But like it was like a mixed group of people that like really only the two main people had a feud against each other, and then everyone else was just kind of like there. And that's what this feels like. It feels like Liv and Rhea are the main people, and then you just like randomly added Nia in. I mean, she just faced Liv at Crown Jewel, so like, why would she want to team up with her? Oh, because she has issues with Bianca and Jade? I mean, come on, you're just stretching it at that point. So this one should have definitely been a 5-on-5 traditional match. I think it would have made more sense. But we're getting WarGames, and can't wait.
Do you think it's possible they could still do a Survivor Series elimination match? Not with the women at this point. That was already made official for WarGames, which I'm sure the match will be good, but it just doesn't make sense to have that stipulation. Do you think they could still do a traditional elimination tag team match on that show, but maybe with like the Final Testament and The Miz versus the Wyatt Six? Because that feud's been building as of late. It's actually gotten better, I think, and I've been enjoying it for what it is. And that would make sense. I mean, you wouldn't put the women in there because you can't have, like, let's say Scarlett eliminates Nikki Cross. What do you then do with Scarlett? She's not facing the men. So it would be 4-on-4, the four male members of Wyatt Six versus AOP, Karrion Kross, and The Miz. I don't think they're going to rush into that on that show, but I think it would make a lot of sense, though, to do it as an elimination tag team match for that pay-per-view, if only to do one for old time's sake.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could do that with them. I'm trying to think of the women, like, if you really want to get, like, Pure Fusion Collective in. I don't really know who else they would team with. But I think with the Wyatt Six and the Final Testament, like you said, I think there's enough there that you could justify doing it. Maybe just gauging how, like, the interest would be for this match. I mean, like you said, it's not like you're putting top-tier talent in, but I think the story's there that you could try it, and then from there. I just don't like – we talked about that on Saturday on my birthday. Like, I just don't like how WarGames has become. November, dust off the cage for WarGames. It's basically what Hell in a Cell used to be. It's November, so time for WarGames. Like, it shouldn't mean more. Like, I get they're trying to prop up Survivor Series, but making it basically a specialty gimmick pay-per-view, it's starting to lose its luster because the matches don't really need the stipulation.
No, I would argue the Bloodline one makes sense. I mean, we've been looking forward to that for a while now, but you could have done that on any show. And it goes back to what I've said in the last couple of weeks, where that whole storyline, for as slow-paced as it was for the longest time, they've officially picked up the pace, and it feels like it's been very much rushed in the last couple of weeks, to the point where just because Survivor Series is coming up, we have to get all the original Bloodline guys on the same page, even though they weren't even on TV 3 months ago. You know, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso were not on the same page as Jimmy and Roman, and they've kind of blown through all of that. And now we're at a point where they might be rushing into getting Rollins and Roman back on the same page. I know we talked about it last week. We didn't really get any answers on Monday's Raw. I was told by several people, you gotta wait to see Raw. It's going to make more sense on Raw. You're going to change your mind about the match being, necessary. I watched the fucking show. They didn't officially add Rollins, but it seems like they are headed in that direction. My mind is still not changed. Even if they do add Rollins, I feel like it would be even worse for him to turn around and say, hey, yeah, I'll team with you, just because Bronson Reed is on the other fucking team, who was added to WarGames on Friday's SmackDown, which is a great spot for Bronson Reed. I'm not saying this is all negative. I think he's in a great spot to shine. He beat Rollins on Raw in a good match. Should have won at Crown Jewel, but, at least he won the rematch. I think him joining WarGames for the simple sake of, Bronson Reed's on the other team, I gotta join, so I'm going to forgive Roman Reigns, who I called a fucking tyrant a week ago on Raw, that just still does not make that much sense to me at all.
No, it doesn't. It's kind of, they should have honestly just, at this point, just kept it to the four guys versus the four guys. I mean, there was really no need to add another person. I think it was kind of made there, but adding Rollins and Reed, and I mean, it's just kind of, like you said, it's kind of like, I feel like that's like with like the women, they're just adding, we need to get more people in it, so we're just going to add this feud. Like, yeah, like there is some story between Rollins and Roman, but like you said, he literally called Roman a tyrant on Raw, but in a week's notice, he's going to join the team because the other team is Bronson Reed. I mean, it just doesn't make a ton of sense. I don't even know why they, like, I don't know. I just don't think it makes a ton of sense. It is what it is. I'm not going to, like, totally shit on it, but I think they should just kept it 4-4.
Yeah, 4-4 would have made a lot more sense. They could have spent the last several weeks building up to what we are now at the Sami Zayn thing and Jay and Jimmy, and not rushed into all them being on the same page within like 2 fucking weeks. I know it's playing out on both Raw and SmackDown, but I feel like I'm watching the story play out on 2 times speed, now with Rollins likely joining the team. Now, what if he doesn't, though? What if they go in a different direction, which I doubt. I'm sure it will be Rollins, because why else would Bronson Reed be on that team? Unless it's a massive red herring. What if Rollins again says no, he sticks to his guns and, shows great character evolution in the process, as opposed to being like, oh yeah, I'll forgive you or whatever. And I guess it was Rollins that turned on Roman in the first place 10 years ago, but still there's been a lot of bad blood there since then. And he does not agree to team with them, but instead someone else steps up. Now I know we, mentioned a few different possibilities last week. The Rock is not fucking wrestling in WarGames. That was another thing. People were like, oh, just wait, Rock will be on the team. Why the fuck would Rock be in WarGames? He's too busy promoting Moana 2. He's filming Moana 5. Like, that's not happening. It's not The Rock. We did mention CM Punk as a possibility. That still doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because he has no issues with the Bloodline. He has, on the babyface side, why the fuck would he want to team with the Usos and Roman, who he's talked shit about in interviews, which I'll get to in a couple minutes, with other people. But the only reason I could see Punk joining the team and it making sense is if he wants to stick it to Seth. Like, hey, if you're not going to do it, I'll fucking do it, because I'm always ready to fight. And it's not really because I like Roman. It's more so just because you won't do it, so I will. Could you see CM Punk? Because it was at Survivor Series a year ago where he made his shocking return to the company. We haven't seen him since Bad Blood, or the night after Bad Blood, or the Raw after Bad Blood, where he came out and said, I'll be going away for a little while. I still don't think he shows up at Survivor Series, but that is something to at least consider there. Do you think that's a decent idea, or what would you do instead? Because we are getting a 5th member, so who would it be in your opinion?
Yeah, I don't mind. I think that's a good idea. I think, like you said, if he sticks at the Rollins, and that can kind of build them towards WrestleMania again. Yeah. I mean, I don't hate that idea. I think it's a good idea. I think it's going to be Rollins, but I think that Punk idea makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's better than Rollins saying, hey, yeah, you're a fucking tyrant and a cancer to this company, and then just saying, yeah, I'll team with you in a fucking WarGames match, where I get nothing out of it, by the way. I think that's just stupid. Yeah, I would love the Shield nostalgia. The 12-year anniversary was on Monday night. I still would not do it. I just feel like that would be dumb, so just something to keep in mind. But yeah, I would rather it see Punk for as little logic, for as little sense as that makes. I feel like it makes slightly more sense if they were to frame it the correct way. But we'll leave it on that note and pick up next week on the annual Thanksgiving episode of WrestleRant Radio here on WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com, all the usual podcast platforms. Rate the show, review the show, subscribe to the show. Never miss new episodes every single Thursday. Have an awesome one, folks. For Mr. Marceau, I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and we'll catch your ass down the road.
Join Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau every Thursday as they run down their weekly wrestling rants, offer expert analysis, host exclusive interviews, and more. Subscribe today on all your favorite podcast platforms and never miss an episode of WrestleRant Radio.